Online versus offline, time distribution. In the beginning, if you were setting up a tournament, if you're organizing, what we want to do is we want to be. Hold on, let me check my timer here. Okay, so we're going to be going to 12:20. I was under the impression that we had a little bit longer, but I must have made a mistake somewhere. We're going to be rounding out in about 7-8 minutes. I hope that's okay with you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you next week, and I'll cover whatever I didn't have time to cover today. The online is interesting because you can gimmick it and you can finesse it, and really what this means is how much of the time should be on the ground, boots on the ground, so to speak, and how much of this should be stuff you do once you're not, so to speak, at work or sitting at home or sitting on the computer. Um, the most important thing to understand here is if you're looking for one of these jobs like host, or if you are looking to become a journalist or something like that, it's going to be very difficult for you to work on it directly in your field. So it's something that you will need to dedicate time to outside of work. Becoming a professional coach, for example, you can definitely work as a server tech while you train. Um, it's just the training goes on in your own work. If you want to be a commentator or something, I recommend doing video work on YouTube, articles, graphics, editing, whatever you can see yourself doing, because it's it's very very difficult to make a living out of making YouTube videos, as it says here, it's top heavy, which means only the best of the best of the best will actually be making any money off of it. Um, but it's important that you do it because you need a good portfolio. You guys know what a portfolio is, yes? You'll need a good portfolio if you are looking to sorry, if you're looking to make sure that you get this job as a hire on. And then the NDA is difficult as well because you must pretty much always in the esports industry sign a non-disclosure agreement. Any strong organization will have this to ensure that any content you produce for them is theirs. And this means that there are some things that you will be hard pressed to work on if you aren't in a situation where you are like directly working on it, right? It's going to be almost impossible for you to do if you aren't quite intelligent when you read through your contract. So this is here because some of you guys will hopefully hop out and just directly run to an organization and sign on, but do read your contracts. Very important that you don't sign off on anything that you want to do on the side. Don't give up all content you ever create. Only give up content created directly related to your job. And then offline, meaning in office, so to speak, you'll get more manageable workdays, and this is your income driver. This is what I talked about earlier with making sure that you have. Oh, let me see here. Okay, perfect. So we're pretty much done here. Um, this is what you want to be doing while working on the online stuff. This is the job you want to be doing as a server tech, as a social media manager, whatever, to guarantee that you are in a situation where you're making money while developing your primary skills. Now, I'm going to be jumping a little bit here, but the last thing I want to be doing is I want to talk about complementary skills. Um, and then we're going to open up to a Q&A at the end here. Is I want to talk a little bit about the four main ways you can develop yourself to guarantee that whatever you're working on, it'll be beneficial to esports. And these are the things you're going to be working with pretty much in any capacity. Technology and media is the most important. If you don't understand how computers work, you're going to struggle in the esports industry. And there's a multitude here. We talked about information technology. We talked about broadcast technology. There's some IT supporters as well, which is a quite popular education at the moment, and you can do coursework for this. And then primarily, understanding server technology is quite good, and understanding what makes different computers good is quite good. So there's journalism and social studies. This is important if you want to work in one of the affiliate fields. Journalism and social studies, obviously, for journalists, for hosts, for shoutcasters and commentators, but it's also important for managers. If you want to be a strong manager, you need to understand how to make a team work from different countries, and that's done primarily through social studies, right? It's understanding international relations and this kind of stuff. Sports and health, really explains itself. I think it's just esports is being built upon the sports framework, so you want to make sure that that's how you're doing it. And then cultural studies and linguistics, underrated for sure. Knowing different languages and knowing different cultures is quite important when you want to market your tournament, quite important when you want to sell merchandise, knowing, understanding advertising, and also even if you're a team manager, knowing these different languages or understanding cultural studies is relevant because of the fact that you will almost never have a team that's completely from one nation, sometimes from one region, but unless you're working in Japan or Brazil, I'd say it's difficult for you guys to really get a single nation team up and running. And then, very very important side note on the cultural studies, uh, everything on the last point here is built on the fact that you have patience enough to actually talk to people about their cultures. There will be some regions where that is not possible, or I should say popular. Um, you will have some industries that are quite um, monocultural. So for example, if you work in the Chinese league, you don't necessarily need to know much except maybe a little bit of Korean studies. But there's not going to be a ton of European imports in China, and you won't have a necessity for it. However, if you do decide to go to China as an import or as a worker or anything, you can take this and really just apply it, right? Like knowing Chinese culture and the Chinese language even will take your career 10 steps up in China and you will be golden. I cannot stress this enough. Every single team in the world wants to work with someone from abroad who speaks their native language. If you are not Japanese, you can go to Japan, no Japanese, you are in high demand, pretty much regardless of what else you can do. Just because of the fact that there is huge, and any good manager knows this, there's huge intense value to bringing in people from different cultures. We see so many teams stagnate because they are too set in their own native region, so to speak. Think about even the stronger wildcard regions and how much trouble they have developing because of the fact that, for example, the Turkish regions in League of Legends keep bringing in Koreans and then they just ostracize these Koreans within their own team, right? They just completely isolate them. So yeah, I just wanted you guys to think about these for next time because I would like you guys to tell me next time if there's any of these you want to have a little bit extrapolated on, because I can probably set aside 10 minutes and some lessons to talk about any of this. But these are not necessarily directly related. These are just great things to study in your online time, so to speak, in the time you aren't directly working